Here are some of the strangest coincidences that have actually happened, and just wait until you hear about these two guys who look identical with the exact same name. Number 9. Two brothers, one bike, one cab. Back in July 1975, newspapers on both sides of the Atlantic went nuts over the passing of 17-year-old Erskine Lawrence Eben. He unfortunately had been knocked off his moped by a taxi in Hamilton, Bermuda. Let's be honest here. Normally, an event like this wouldn't really make headlines, nor would it even really make it in a newspaper. But the thing is, the same thing happened to his brother the previous year, also by a taxi, riding the same moped. And his brother was also 17 when it happened to him. And here's the really crazy thing. The accidents happened on the same street. Did we mention this is crazy? Because now things are about to get really, really crazy. The two brothers were hit by the same taxi with the same driver carrying the same passenger. Was this fate or was this a coincidence? What do you think? If you're enjoying this video, do us a big favor and hit that like button. Number 8, times 2. Identical twins, James Arthur Springer and James Edward Lewis, spent almost all of their first 39 years apart, until 1977 when they decided to meet. They were separated at birth and adopted by different families, but they both knew that they had a twin, although they never crossed paths after getting separated. However, they discovered that despite living completely separate lives, they had some pretty eerie similarities. Both their adoptive parents gave them the name James. Both of them married and then divorced a woman named Linda. Their second wives were both named Betty. They both named their son James Allen. Both of them grew up with an adopted brother named Larry. Both twins had law enforcement training and had worked part-time as deputy sheriffs in their towns. Is this crazy enough for you yet? They vacationed at the same beach in Florida. They both smoked heavily and, yep, they both go by Jim. They shared many common interests such as mechanical drawing and block lettering and had similar habits. The twins even use similar words when they're talking. The amazing thing is that they hadn't seen each other in almost 40 years, so they had no chance to influence each other. Researchers decided to perform tests on them and found that their medical histories, personality tests, and brainwave tests were almost all identical. So what do you think? Is this too good to be true, or was this just a really good hoax? Before we get to the next entry, here's a quick quiz for you guys. What isn't true about identical twins? Is it A, they have the same phenotype, or B, they started off as one ovum or egg, or C, they have the same thumbprint, or is it D, they have the same DNA? The answer is later on in the video. Number 7, not a Photoshop. Michael Dick had not seen his daughter Lisa for more than a decade, ever since he had separated from his first wife. All he knew was that they had moved to Sudbury, a town in England, and that was about it. So back in 2010, he decided to take his two other daughters, Samantha and Shannon, to Sudbury to look for Lisa. Determined, Michael got in touch with the local newspaper and asked for help. A photographer from the paper snapped a picture of Michael, Samantha, and Shannon and put it in the paper along with the story of Michael's mission. Amazingly enough, the photographer had actually taken a picture of all of Michael's daughters in that one photo. How? Because somehow the daughter Michael was looking for was walking in the background when the picture was taken. His lost daughter Lisa spotted the photo of her dad in the newspaper, but she also recognized herself and her mother in the background. She said that before she saw the picture, she had been thinking about her dad and actually was going to search for him as well. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're dropping a new video series on Florida Man and all the crazy things they do, and you definitely don't want to miss those videos. Number 6, little child out of wedlock. Many people know that legendary actor James Dean passed away by crashing his famous Porsche. But did you know that his Porsche is supposedly cursed? The Porsche 550 Spider, nicknamed the Little Bastard, not only claimed James Dean's life, but was also trouble for many other people who came in contact with it. George Barris, the person who had customized the Porsche for Dean originally, bought the wreckage of Little Bastard for $2,500. As soon as he bought it, the Porsche slipped off its trailer and broke a mechanic's leg. Not long after, Barris sold parts off of the 550 to Troy McHenry and William Eschrud. While racing against one another in cars that had parts from the Little Bastard, McHenry lost control and hit a tree, ending his life, and Eschrud was seriously injured. Barris also sold 2 new tires that came with the 550. Both tires blew out simultaneously, causing the new owner's car to run off the road. Barris was then convinced by the California Highway Patrol to lend the car for a series of highway safety exhibits. At the first exhibit, the garage that housed the car burned down. Little Bastard suffered only some minor paint damage. At the next exhibit, the car fell off its display and broke a student's hip. The supposed curse continued when a truck transporting the car to the next exhibit lost control, causing the driver to fall out and somehow get crushed by the car after it fell off the back. The Porsche supposedly fell off of 2 more transport trucks while in transport between exhibits. The California Highway Patrol decided that it had had enough of the Little Bastard. However, while transporting the car back to Barris, the car mysteriously vanished. Little Bastard has been missing ever since. Do you guys believe that a car can be cursed? Number 5. Lucky or unlucky? Is Martin DeJong lucky or unlucky? He cheated the Grim Reaper twice in 2014 after changing his plans to fly on both of the famous doomed Malaysia Airlines flights. If you guys remember, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 mysteriously vanished back in 2014 and still has not been found. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 was shot down while it flew over Ukrainian airspace in the same year. Martin traveled around the world to compete for Malaysia's Terengganu cycling team, and that's why he has had 2 extraordinary near misses. He was supposed to travel on the flight MH17, but he only decided to swap flights at the last minute, after discovering that traveling through Frankfurt was cheaper. And how about Flight 370? He had a race to compete in Taiwan, but he ultimately decided to take a different flight an hour earlier. That did not include a stopover in Beijing. He even talked to some of the people boarding the flight. That's how close he was to getting on that plane. See who else is super lucky by checking out our other video, The Luckiest People in the World. Number 4. Miss Unsinkable. From the moment Violet Jessup was born, it was obvious she's a survivor. She survived tuberculosis even when her doctor predicted that she would not make it. So maybe it shouldn't come as a shock that she survived the sinking of the Titanic. However, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, you guys know what we did there. You know the Titanic, the iceberg. Yeah, well. What might be of surprise to you is that she also survived the sinking of the Titanic's sister ship, the HMHS Britannic. And, just for good measure, she decided to be on the RMS Olympic when it had a collision as well. She was on the Olympic working as a stewardess when it collided with another ship. Despite the damage, the ship made it back to port without sinking. 7 months later, Jessup was back at work on another ship. This time, however, it was on the Titanic. You know what happened there. Jessup made it onto a lifeboat and was eventually rescued by the Carpathia. You'd think that surviving Titanic would stop someone from ever getting on a ship again, but not her. During World War I, Jessup was working again, this time on the Britannic. On November 21st, 1916, the Britannic sank in the Aegean Sea from a mysterious explosion. The ship sank so fast, the propellers were still spinning and began sucking lifeboats under them. Jessup had to jump out of her lifeboat to safety, and she got a traumatic head injury in the process. After surviving all that, she still did not stop going on ships. Number 3. Dennis the Menaces. On March 12, 1951, Dennis the Menace was released. Both of them. Wait, did you know that there are actually 2 separate comics called Dennis the Menace? And the weirdest thing, they were both released on the same day. One was released in the UK, one in the US. The UK Dennis was created by David Law and published as a comic strip inside a popular comic book. The US Dennis was created by Hank Catcham and was initially distributed as a syndicated comic strip for newspapers. Based on this simple fact, many people believe that one of the 2 creators had to have plagiarized the other. However, it quickly became clear that wasn't the case. Not only did they have no way of knowing what the other was working on back in those days, but in reality, the 2 characters are actually extremely different. The UK version is a true menace, a mean-spirited boy who likes to cause trouble. The US version is a happy-go-lucky kid that causes trouble without intending to. No legal actions were taken against either creator. They essentially agreed to allow each other to work on their respective comics. The UK version is now known as Dennis the Gnasher, named after Dennis's dog. Although the US version is more popular internationally, the UK version is better known in its native country. Number 2. Same name, same face? Brady Feigl is a 6'4" minor league pitcher with a red beard and black rimmed glasses. And Brady Feigl is a 6'4" minor league pitcher with a red beard and black rimmed glasses. Yeah, you guys guessed right. We're talking about two different guys here. Right-handed Brady Gregory Feigl is the younger Brady. He was born in Missouri, played college baseball at Mississippi, now plays single-A baseball in the Oakland A's farm system. His left-handed and older doppelganger is Brady Matthew Feigl. He was born in Maryland, played college baseball at Mount St. Mary's, and now plays AAA ball in the Texas Rangers farm system. As hard as it is to believe, since they look so alike at first glance, the two Bradys are not identical twins. The two of them are actually born 5 years apart, and as we mentioned earlier, they throw with the opposite hands. They had no idea that each other existed until 2015, when they both had the same elbow surgery performed by the same surgeon. What happened was the receptionist from the doctor's office called the wrong Brady Feigl and asked when he wanted to come in for surgery. However, the Brady on the phone already had the same surgery 6 months ago. Brady and Brady supposedly still have not met, although they still get confused for each other from time to time. They do look somewhat different when they both shave their beards, and the 22-year-old Brady outweighs the older Brady by over 30 pounds. Number 1. Crossword secrets. Back in 1944, codenames related to D-Day plans appeared as solutions in crossword puzzles in the Daily Telegraph. This caused panic as it was one of the best-known and widely read British newspapers. A few months before D-Day, solution words for codenames of beaches such as Gold, Sword, and Juno appeared in the puzzle. Since these are pretty common words, everyone treated it as a coincidence. But on August 18, 1942, a day before the Dieppe raid, Dieppe appeared as an answer to the clue of French port. This immediately raised security alarms. British intelligence immediately suspected that the crossword puzzle was used to pass intelligence to the enemy. However, in the end, it ended up being just a remarkable coincidence. The reason for the coincidence was actually very simple. Leonard Daw, the crossword compiler, was the headmaster of a boys' school. He would call boys into his study to fill crossword blanks with random words. Next to the school, there was a big camp of U.S. and Canadian troops preparing for D-Day. Surprisingly, security around the camp was lax, and schoolboys and soldiers often talked with each other. Boys heard and learned many of the D-Day code words, and later used them to fill out the crossword blanks. So, what was the answer to the quiz question earlier? What isn't true about identical twins? The answer is C. They don't have the same thumbprint. Watch this next video to find out about the scariest things that actually happen.